Hi friend, welcome back. It's Tess from Yard Food, and I'm here to invite you to another episode of Grow It, where I'm planting my garden and I'm taking you along the garden path with me so you can see what I'm up to and maybe plant yours right along with me. We've talked a lot in the past about food crops. You and I have planted seeds. We've talked about fertilizing our garden beds. We've planted some veggie starts. But now, today, as I step out into my garden, there's a super important element that we need to address if we're going to have success now and later at the end of the harvest season. And that is, we've got to invite the pollinators to our party. The pollinators. We often think of things like honeybees. We know the story of the struggle of the honeybee. We've decimated their environment. We've sprayed pesticides on our industrialized produced food crops. We've gotten rid of so much of their native ground, destroyed their environments, that now the honeybee is critically endangered. And you and I need to step up to the plate. That's what I'm doing today, and I want to invite you with me to step up to help save the pollinators. Now, honeybees are not the only pollinators. There's a jillion little fellows living, breeding, dying, and moving along in the garden called a pollinator. Now, we don't need to know all of their names. We don't even need to be able to recognize them when they flitter on by. All we do need to do is have a general understanding, caring from our heart, and some effort on our part to create some living systems in the garden so that the pollinators have home, food, and a power to reproduce and continue their life cycle along the path. So in my garden beds, sometimes I do a couple different things. I like to think always about the harvest. What can I plant in my garden rows that, one, is going to feed me, but two, is also going to provide food and habitat for these sweet little fellows called pollinators. And some of my favorites, 2, 3 of my favorites that I love to use repeatedly throughout the garden, like a cinch, are these. I love to plant sunflowers and let my sunflowers go to seed. I also love to plant cilantro. I love it in the kitchen, but it works super duper well as a pollinator food for all the little fellows flying around later. I like to let that go to seed when it bolts, and it's sort of gotten ahead of me. And if you've ever grown cilantro, you know that's a possibility. And I also love to let some of my lettuces bolt, go to seed, feed the pollinators, and make seeds for me for later on. So it's an easy thing for you to do to both capture the harvest and create food for the pollinators. Now, there's a lot of little flowers that work well. Most flowers work well, but some of the favorites that work extremely well in the garden are alyssum, lobelia, cosmos, golly, let's see, lots of others. I'm sure it's kind of escaping my brain, but you get the feeling for it. Anything that's beautiful, anything that produces pollen and nectar is an incredible source of food for all of our pollinators. And another thing I like to do in my gardens, all around the edges, sometimes in the middle if things get away from me, is to let some of the native grasses and the native little shrubs and bushes and weeds and, who cares? I like to let them go to seed, live out their life cycle without me feeling a little bit, in control and needing to take care of everything and weed it all out and have it be perfect. Because in that simple little adjustment in our headspace, we are allowing the natives, the native environment, to do its thing and provide food and habitat for our pollinators as well. So if there's things growing along the edges of your garden that are natural and are living out their life cycle, you don't need to feel so pressured to have your garden be beautiful and maybe something that would appear on the cover of a magazine. I know mine, from time to time, it's hard to find the veggie rows, but I know that in the middle of all that chaos exists habitat for these little pollinator creatures. So however you can accomplish that goal in your veggie garden, it's super duper helpful. And I want to leave you with a little idea about pollinators, a little idea about how it all really works. we come up to the garden and we envision, I'll speak for myself, often envision myself powerful, in control. I'm the one that's making this happen. But in reality, we step into the garden, we are just one string in this whole web of life. We're the one string called human. There are many other strings of life forms, whether they be mammals or insects or plant life. And it is super helpful to realize that we are just a part of it, and that our job in the garden is that of caregiver, that it is our job not to dictate, not to insist, but to be open and to see this beautiful environment as, I don't know, an invitation for us to enter and to open our eyes and our awareness and our understanding to the life forms that are existing there, that are doing their thing with or without us. And our job, our role, is to remember we are simply the caregiver, not the dictator, not the sprayers of chemicals and insisting that the garden does what we want it to do. The garden is alive. It has an agenda all its own. What we are doing is simply stepping in, gathering what we can, manipulating here and there, but always recognizing that it is a web of life full of life forms, and we are simply a part of that. Right? Okay, I hope that helps. Pollinators, our friends, super important. The harvest couldn't happen without it. And I'm going to leave you with a little idea. This has helped me tremendously in the years since, and it has helped me really boost my harvests in the garden. Think about it this way. We plant a vegetable plant, and in its process of life, it blooms, and it speaks to the garden, and it whispers one single plant, pollinate me, pollinate me. But when we open our vision and we allow all of the plants to thrive, we plant rows full of veggies and flowers and everything that provides food for those pollinators. Now our veggie rows, instead of simply whispering, pollinate me, are speaking loud. They're speaking to the web of life, and they are saying, pollinate me, I am here, pollinate me, because we have provided food and habitat for the pollinators. Super simple, super effective. I hope you use it in your garden rows too. Hey, we appreciate you more than you know. We are here, we are committed to your success in the garden. If you feel this information is helpful to others that you may know, I give you my permission. Please share it with me. The more of us at the garden party, the better. You take care, friend. You have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, P.S. I'm opening my doors to something new. It's a masterclass that I'm offering to folks who want to learn more, to continue along, to get even deeper into this whole idea of growing a garden. The sign-up list is on my website, www.tesshoke.com. Click on Upskill in the tabs, and you can sign up to the wait list. That's all for now, but more coming.